Welcome to The Good, the Bad, and the Sequel. This is the movie podcast where we're talking sequels, and we do it in two parts. The first, an interview with an actor or someone involved that made the film worth watching. And the second, a discussion of the sequel, what they got right, what they got wrong, and how it could have been better. Really hope you enjoyed last two interviews, because this is Halloween, our third annual scary sequel month, and we do it big. So Patricia Cara, case number 9, on Deal or No Deal, and a Cenobite in this week's movie, and Rachel Currens, who is the little girl in the rain that we're going to have to talk about, because when we saw her in this movie, I was like, should she have a bigger role? Because they did they panned on her for way too long, but we'll get into that later. But before we get into this Hellraiser movie, ? I got to introduce you to my partner in this sequel watching journey, Jamie Riccardi.
I'm doing
Jamie,
great,
how are
Doug.
you?
How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. You know what? To be honest, going into this movie, I didn't really watch any trailers. I watched, I guess, clips for the interviews when I did them last year, but I didn't know what to expect. I looked at the cast list. I'm like, oh, like him, Nikki Turturro. Yeah. James Remar. What? And, I don't know. It was better than I thought, I think.
Well, I'm kind of torn on this movie. First of all, this is
Torn, pun intended, because it's a Hellraiser movie.
Well, is it a Hellraiser movie? I mean, I feel like this is the Jason Goes to Hell of Hellraiser. Where Jason Goes to Hell really wasn't a Friday the 13th. It was kind of like a wacky version of Friday the 13th. And I feel like, it's hard for me to say anything because I've only seen one other Hellraiser. But I'm not impressed. All this time I've been worried about watching Hellraiser because younger, I'm thinking like Pinhead. It's grotesque. There's a lot. So far in the two movies we saw, Pinhead does nothing. So I don't know if we've watched the two worst ones. But he's not really Pinhead. I don't like. I feel like I like this. I like the script, like the story and the ending, like what the movie's about. But for a Hellraiser, I didn't like it.
Okay. Well, we can't talk horror, and we can't have a Halloween without our horror movie sequel expert. I have to run them all down. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, Fly 2, Return to Sleepaway Camp, Friday the 13th Part 4. Man,
that's only 4.
Do you remember the other two?
Amityville.
Possession.
Amityville. And what the hell is the other one?
I always forget.
It'll come back to us.
You do a Halloween?
That is the voice of our...
No.
No, we don't give them the good horror movies for the most part.
Wait, you don't think Return to Sleepaway Camp is a good horror movie?
Oh, after we did that episode, I put it on eBay. I put my copy on eBay. It sold for $40 because it's out of print.
Listen, Your Ass Stinks is still going to be one of the greatest lines in a movie.
It's up there. And that is the voice of our horror sequel expert, Chris Egan. Chris, how you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm ready to talk some Hellraiser.
Now, you said you had all of these, but this was only the second time you cracked this one open?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of like the first 3, which I guess most people are. And then I like 4 as well. I like part 4. And I found like a cheapo Blu-ray that had parts like 4 through 8 on it. So I bought it specifically just to have 4. So now,
So
and I saw all these I saw all the later sequels like years and years ago. So this was my second time watching this one.
What number is this in the 8?
This is 5.
Oh, there's 3 more after this?
Oh, there's like 5 more after this.
There's more than that.
Moly. All right.
Yeah.
So where does this rank on like the 8 or the 10 or whatever you have?
I would kind of put this squarely in.
Fourth?
I would put this like in the middle.
So there's worse ones than this one.
Because I genuinely like 1 through 4. Especially 1, 2, and 4 are the ones I like most. 3 is okay.
All right. So let me ask you: does Pinhead have a bigger role in the other movies?
Yes and no. He never has a huge role. It's the stories are always focused on the human characters.
Okay.
Even in the original one, But yeah, no, his role in this is definitely diminished, but I'm sure you guys read up on that. So, we'll get into that as we move along, but he never has a huge role.
Oh, that'll be good. But one thing that I read that was interesting, he really liked the lack of Pinhead in the sense of it showed more of like the human and how much, carnage can be caused by that.
Yeah.
But maybe he was paid to say that because the budget was $2 million.
Yeah,
you mean Doug Bradley?
I'm sure Doug Bradley.
I just find like
chunk.
he's such a if you've never seen Hellraiser, you know all about Pinhead. He's obviously one of those characters that really stand out. And I just feel like he's underused, for the way he portrays himself outside of not seeing a movie. I knew so much about him just based on just seeing him and, without seeing the movies. And I'm like, it's like watching a King Kong movie without seeing King Kong. I was like, I'm like waiting for like Pinhead stuff. And it's like so far in 2 movies, there's like nothing. There really is nothing so far. I mean, again, maybe we'd watch the 2 worst ones. I don't know.
Well,
Hellbound was good.
You watched, what did you watch? You watched part 2? Yeah,
part 2,
right. Yeah, I like part 2. But again, it's the point of the series is not the Cenobites. It's the people.
Well, yeah, I mean, but again, but even Hell in the second one, he gets his butt kicked. Like he doesn't do anything. Like that fight he has, it was like 2 seconds. Like I don't know. I guess he's more of a presence than anything else. And I'm thinking like he's more like Freddy Krueger, but he's really not. He's just it's more about the presence of him.
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
All right.
And I don't know if you'd be shocked about this, Jamie, but this script was not originally a Hellraiser script.
You could tell.
They just added him in.
And that's what I like. If you take the Hellraiser out of it, the twist at the end, I actually like that. I like, like now, going back and seeing what is involved. But I think making it a Hellraiser movie makes the movie worse.
We'll get into that. So, and this movie, we're almost recording this close to its birthday. Came out on October 3rd, the year 2000. So pretty soon, this movie's going to be able to drink, which is quite something.
You should drink before you watch it.
All right, let's get started. Cheers. So it's cool. I always had a soft spot for Dimension films, so it's always cool to see that. Egan, who were the first? Dimension didn't always release these movies, right? Is this the first Dimension Hellraiser?
I think so, because Dimension was like an offshoot of like Miramax, and I know the fourth one, and I think maybe the third one was Miramax as well. The first 2, that was like New World Pictures or one of those like smaller companies that I think like kind of burned up by the time like the 90s were really rolling around. I think it was New World Pictures did the first 2.
Was this the first directed to DVD or?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first.
Yeah.
Okay.
The fourth one I think was originally going to be direct to video, but Miramax put it in theaters and it actually did pretty well. But from this point on, they're all direct to video.
Okay.
So Dimension, you get a quick title screen, you get like this chanting music, like the names I mentioned before. You see these names, you're like, I know that guy, I know that one. One that I love at all those people, Craig Sheffer.
I know.
I love him in The Program. He's in a ton of other movies, but I always loved him in that role. And his character is one that we're going to talk about, obviously, because he's the main character. But the character of Joseph is probably the most confusing character, because there's like his motivations at times don't really fit with what he is.
One of the biggest questions I have is, there's a voiceover throughout the whole movie, of him telling his story, I guess, right? But when you find out the twist, is he telling the story after he finds out what's going on? Because he seems very calm telling his story.
Yeah.
So I was like, at what point is he telling this story? Because towards the end, I can't imagine him wanting to tell the story, or being able to tell the story.
No, that definitely speaks to them wanting to make it like a detective noir with the narration, and then kind of forgetting that's what they were doing.
All right, yeah, okay.
It throws you off the scent of the twist, though.
No, it without a doubt.
Oh, no, that is something. So the first opening part of the movie to me is so confusing. So in the next scene, or even when he takes the phone call, which I think he might have been on the phone with Nicky Totoro, who's Tony, or somebody else he works with, but he's like giving him the shit about the game. He's like, yeah, we won by 7, but we should have won by 20. Your ass should have been there. But he's playing chess, and he's not even in basketball clothes. He's in chess clothes.
We need to talk about this chess game. All right. Now, so first of all, when people play chess, you play it in a quiet area. You're not playing in the middle of a basketball court. Number one, I would assume a couple of basketballs are going to be flying that way, going out of bounds. Why would they play of all the areas they can play? They're going to play on a basketball court while basketball practice is going on. That really didn't make sense.
And you had the professor, who I thought was, and I had to, right away, this was a very important clip that I had to look at, was...
The fuck do you care?
Not only that, he takes a call during it while there's basketball.
So he's a genius?
Should have been 20.
I mean, if you're able to play chess, beat a professor while on the phone, you gotta be pretty good. And
I thought the professor was going to be something maybe later or something, but no, it's just this guy that they kept zooming in on who was nothing. He was really just a professor.
I mean, I've seen you see a lot of these chess movies, they never move that fast. How fast are they moving? Every move is like a second. They're not even thinking. It's like speed chess.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's like a time lapse. It's cut for suspense, I guess, to show that it's two big brains playing chess against each other after the detective just got done playing basketball as well.
Yeah, but when you have the basketball practice in the background at real time.
That's post game practice. I don't know. They're getting themselves psyched up during the chess game.
See, I was waiting for a basketball to fly out of bounds.
Dude. He looks like Michael Myers on a spring day. Oh.
Well, he also his look throughout the whole movie is creepy. He's got that constant anger look.
He's the angry.
Yeah, well, he's a cokehead.
He's
an addict.
There's nothing likable about this character.
Yeah, he's the angry detective.
He really is, but his face.
20 years on the job and I'm done.
And I love the way he talks because it fits the noir thing that Egan was mentioning. He's like, "You played right into my game, detective." He has this weird thing because again, maybe he really talks like that. In other movies I've seen with him, he doesn't talk like that. And then even in the next scene, again, did the professor show up with his chessboard and set everything up while he was playing? Then he saw him done setting up, and he's like, "Oh, I gotta go, guys."
You don't know he's a cop until this point.
I had no clue.
Okay.
Yeah, I had no guess. I guess it sort of makes sense because I guess that would have to be some sort of element to it, but no. But he's a scumbag, just like we saw earlier. How you could tell he was a douchebag because he's doing coke right in the locker room right after he's changing from his chess clothes.
And he, I believe he does coke throughout the whole movie. Right, there's a few other times.
Always on coke.
Okay. Yeah, and we see him buying drugs. We see him using drugs,
taking drugs from evidence. Yeah, yep. Taking a lot of things from evidence.
Well, taking drugs from evidence, not using those drugs, but having a hooker, which we'll get to in a little bit, just try it out without even that could have been Jesus Christ, it could have been something that killed her in a second. He's like, "Hey, you try it out, baby."
Well, he seems like a guy that really doesn't care. He's willing to take those risks.
Yeah, that is true.
So, and he seems to be able to take whatever evidence he wants, and all he has to do is cross it off and change what's really there, and there's no questions. When he takes the $400, which we're not, and all he does is cross it off and put $100. That's not obvious.
Yeah.
No one questions it.
Sorry,
No one questions it.
I added it wrong. It's not like he took like 100 from 1,000. It went from 400 to 100, right? It was something like that. Like,
and he does it with pencil. Like it's like, I mean, it's like literally like it's just so ridiculous.
Also,
So
it's not like he's portrayed as this like super cop or hero cop that like he's living one lifestyle in secret, but like presenting himself as something else. He's seems like he's semi well liked and he's a pretty good detective, but it doesn't seem like he's not like the golden boy where like no one would suspect him. So he's doing all these things where he like it feels like he's just doing it and he's never going to get caught and there's going to be any suspicion.
I think he puts himself on a higher pedestal than others put him up there. I think he thinks he's much better than like what he really is.
Yeah,
because he considered himself a genius. Like he considered himself obviously with the chess and throughout the movie. Like I think he makes a comment like I'm a really good thinker or problem solver or something. And so I think he thinks he's better than what he really portrays himself as. Because I love Turturro's character. I think he does a great job in the role.
Yeah,
and his I think his acting was really good.
Tony,
yeah, definitely.
We meet Tony at the mansion. So they're at this mansion, and there's body parts everywhere, and just blood, and just ugh.
Are there ever crime scenes like that in real life?
Oh, of course.
I mean, you see that. I mean, you say of course, but you see these in movies all the time. I don't know if it's crime. Like, this is a typical crime scene in every movie, like every horror movie. I don't know if they really have crime scenes like
movie. It's a horror movie. I love this scene. I love it.
What do you love about it?
Do.
The fact that he knows the victim, and then right where the dead victim's body parts are spread across this like library kind of like den room, he remembers a story about how he used to bully him when he tried out for the basketball team. And then he actually smirks at the end of the story. You thought he had like remorse because this guy's dead. And he's like, yeah.
Or do you like the fact that he knew exactly to go to a book that has a secret compartment in there where he had, I guess, drugs? There were drugs in there?
He's a puzzle solver. He's a puzzle solver.
He picked up one book. There was one book, and that's the book. And are there books out there like that? Like, I mean,
oh yeah, you make them like
one.
that, yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, I have one.
What do you put in there?
You buy it. Stuff.
Oh.
No, you put like.
I mean, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I mean,
no, I've put like house keys and stuff. You know, like.
Oh. Wait, you hide your house keys in the house? So if you lock yourself
in the house,
like keys to like things that I have.
Do you have a locked room in your house?
I was going to say you have a secret compartment.
I'm in the secret room.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
And then he finds a candle that's sitting on the Hellraiser box, and he looks inside the candle, and within seconds he sees like the finger, and he doesn't know what the finger is, right? He doesn't know it's a child's finger right away.
No, I think he does. I think he says it's a child's finger.
No, he says it's a finger, and I think it's the coroner that tells him it's a child's finger. Right?
What a character that guy is. And how about the other guy, which we'll get into? What does that guy have better do? I don't even know what his job is. I guess he's
the guy with the mustache?
Yeah.
The guy who's stuck in a lollipop right? The same.
Yes.
Between coroners and like the forensic, I guess what's his job? The forensic examiner?
I don't know what that. He seems like a gopher because he's just following up on other people's tests because he searches the database for the fingerprints. That's
probably like a lab tech or something.
But he's part of the police force. I mean, he works there, and the way what's his name? Is it Bob or Bobby? What's his name? Is it Bobby?
Joseph.
Bobby Joseph.
Close.
The way he talks to him is like do this now. Like I mean, like he's like he bullies him around.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of a bully.
He's a tough cop.
He definitely. Well, yeah.
No, but back to the murder scene. I like it. 'Cause I just like the design of the house. It's
Creepy.
but it's very Clive Barker who created Hellraiser, which I don't know if we want to get into this now, but I was reading that Clive Barker really disliked this movie.
I wonder why.
Well, here's the thing: is that Joseph as a character is 100% a character that Clive would write. That murder scene, the candles, so much of this movie is something that Clive would write. I'm wondering if he didn't care for it because it's like a lesser version of something he would create. But all his, not all of them, but a lot of his main characters in his books are very much like Joseph. They're basically like living two lives. So he's a cop, but he's also a drug addict and an asshole, and cheats on his wife and all that stuff. But like that's 100% a Clive character. So I don't know what. Maybe he didn't care for the fact that it was kind of, like we said before, it wasn't meant to be a Hellraiser movie, and it got turned into one, and it's kind of a hodgepodge. But
a little bit, yeah. Well, the other thing I have is, I mean, and I guess you see this in the other movie as well, but the cube. I mean, if you look at it, it looks like a toy. Like, it doesn't look like, so why does everybody, like in all the movies, they pick it up like it's something like a rare gemstone that they've never seen before.
It's pretty fascinating. It's very intricate. It looks like it looks
enough that you're going to carry it around with you the rest of the movie.
It really depends on the character and the movie, because some of the characters, when they see it, they know what it is. Some characters are seeking it. Joseph's case, I don't know.
Because but he literally carries it around with him. So, like, yeah. I mean, to me, it doesn't make sense. I mean, if there are plenty of things in that house he could have grabbed.
It is a supernatural device, so maybe it's like makes you drawn to it if it senses that you're someone that could be susceptible to its charms, so to speak.
Okay,
a chess playing bad boy cokehead. So we talked about it already. He robs the dead guy
to punish people. So.
Oh yeah,
he's a complete asshole, and then he goes home and he has a wife and a kid,
and the wife is smoking.
The wife is so smoking.
Yeah. And she talks about, like, it was just, I think it's the scene, like, she's like, I just took a shower, and she's like, she's all excited that he's home, and he basically like walks right past her.
No, and well, he walks right past her, go to the fridge, like, grab something to eat, and she goes, are you home for good? He's like, no, just picked up a homicide. Got a case. I got to get out of here. And then you're like, all right, this guy's just hardworking. No, within seconds, he's going to pick up a hooker, and then the noir voiceover that talks about, like, if she ever knew who I really was, then she'd leave me. What the fuck? Why wouldn't she leave you now?
And he made a comment like, but this is what brings me home. So, like, he didn't use these words, but he's like, so is it wrong what I'm doing? Because it does bring him home to her. So he's like, who says it's not right? He says something like that, so he really thinks that sleeping with a hooker all the time is right?
It literally makes no sense. Why would that? Why it doesn't bring him home? It sends him back out in the middle of the night.
And again, are there hookers that look like this? Because she's pretty smoking too.
Juggling smoke shows.
We live close to New York City, and I've been in the city many times. I've seen hookers back in the day, and they did not look close to anything like this.
No, this girl's like a high-end escort.
It's the girl from Hangover. It's the wife.
Wait,
no way. Yeah, I saw the name and it made like it I thought it sounded familiar. Holy shit!
I'm almost positive it's the wife that's getting married in Hangover.
Yeah, you're right. She's in all three of them.
Yeah.
She has quite the IMDb list over here.
So here's a funny story about her and her name. That one of the goofs in this movie, in the opening credits, her name's spelled wrong, and then the end credits, it's spelled right. So it's almost like they did the first part. They're like, holy shit, we screwed up. Let's fix it. But only at the end. So it's two different spelling names.
Who's going to notice?
I guarantee
people on
I
IMDb.
guarantee you they didn't notice at all.
I didn't notice.
One guy spelled it wrong the first time, and who knows? Maybe it was the same guy typed it up right the second.
Oh shit! So then, oh my god! And then he uses the money and the coke on this prostitute, Sasha Bareilles, I think her name is, and he's having full blown doggy style, and we see it.
Wait, before we get there, there's something we have not brought up yet.
Okay.
What's his deal with magic?
Oh, that never came back.
Okay, what do you mean never came back?
No, I mean, like, I thought that was going to be, that was like a touching thing to him in his life.
No, but he does it throughout the whole. In fact, he does it with the hooker. You know, when she asks for like a piece of gum,
yes,
he does that. That's his foreplay. Like he does a little magic trick. Like what is that? Like he just like he's a frustrated magician, or like because it doesn't help him at all later on in the movie at all. He just does it throughout the movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what I thought. I thought the puzzle solving and him being a genius that he says to himself, right. I thought that would somehow come up. And I thought for some reason the magic would help him in some sense.
I mean, he's good. Don't get me wrong. I mean, his close contact magic is very good. But
James Remar compliments him.
The magic thing is like another like offhand nod to Barker.
Oh, really?
It's just there's magic. He always floats like real life magic and supernatural magic in some of his stories. It's just I feel like it's just another thing they threw in to be like that's kind of Clive Barker-ish. Let's throw that in.
but for like his character, who's just like a drunken scumbag, it makes no like that. Him doing magic like that makes no sense. It doesn't fit his character.
Yeah,
that's kind of goofy. Like the magic he's doing is kind of goofy, and he's not a goofy guy. So it's like it just like doesn't fit. It's like just weird.
Yeah, it's a weird character quirk, and I feel like it's just aside from being like a Barker trope, I feel like it's like another thing to just add to him, showing that like he's intelligent or he picks stuff up. So he does basketball, he does chess, he does close up magic, and he's a pretty good detective. It's just one of those things. It makes no sense in the context of the story as a whole. It's just there.
Mike, magicians can't be dicks. David Copperfield might be a huge asshole. We don't know.
I mean, look at David Blaine.
Supposedly he was. So, and you said he's a good detective, but like, is he? I mean, like, you watch this movie. I'm what kind of detective stuff did he really do? Besides rough up every single witness.
He's the star homicide detective on the case.
No, he did rough everyone up, and it feels like all the things that from the outside, again, we'll get into what are we watching the whole time? Like, what is it really? But now he probably looks like a good detective in a way because he knows where stuff is, and he sees a videotape that isn't really there, which yeah, this guy is just something. So here's the part where so he goes into the bathroom. He is like, goes with his character. He's chugging the cheap, it looks like iced tea in a pint glass, in a plastic pint. He goes into the bathroom. He chugs it. And
by the way, fully clothed. So he woke up fully clothed. She's naked and he's fully clothed. Just wanted to put it out there.
No, it's a magic trick. He just snapped his fingers, clothes went back on. Now you see me, now you don't. So then he goes into the bathroom. He's like sort of disgusted with himself, I guess. And he looks at the box. There's another voiceover where he talks about puzzles and he can always figure things out. And then it starts to move. And it starts moving around. And then he opens the door and he's in like this really old house. And dude, this part is pretty fucking scary.
Now, okay. So the box in the other movie we saw, Hellbound or whatever, wasn't there a certain way to open the box? Like that one girl knew how to open it, right?
Yeah.
So how does this open up on its own?
Well, didn't she have the power? Wait, wasn't it like if it's open, somebody has to open it to close it or something? No? Because that's what the girl did in the second one. She reopened it, which like opened up a portal and sucked all of them in that world.
Yeah, I mean, when the series starts, it's kind of so you have to like solve it to open it because you're looking for something.
Okay.
As the movies progress, it kind of
they didn't have time to do that. They had to do it the quick way.
Yeah, the canon changes where I think it targets people, and I think maybe it plays into like how this movie ends, like the full twist is.
Yes.
Maybe it just opens up because it's already has a connection to him in a way.
All right, so let me ask you this, and then this might be a question that we can't answer, but is it the same box in all the movies?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
There are other
it
ones.
keeps getting passed along somehow.
Yeah, there's other ones that show up, I believe, later in the series.
Okay.
But this is like the main one.
Okay.
It's like Hellraiser 7. They're like, how are we going to up the notch? I don't know. More boxes?
More boxes.
Took them 7 movies to figure that out.
More boxes. Eventually, there's more than one Pinhead. It gets weird.
Wait, there's more than one Pinhead?
In like one movie, there's more than one Pinhead, and it's one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life.
So then, when they're in the house, we see our first Cenobite, and then we see like these 2 female Cenobites. One of them is Patricia Cara.
Do you know which one?
She's one of the 2 that puts the hands. Yeah.
So wait, so is that how Cenobites have sex?
Oh, were they having sex? Is that what that was?
I don't know. What they seem to be into it. First of all, he seemed to be into it.
He was into it. Yeah.
Pleasure from pain.
So
baby.
I mean, he definitely was into it, but like it seemed like that's like I don't know, like is that what they were doing? Like because they were going under. So to explain, they were going under his skin, right?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, the Cenobites' whole deal is like pleasure from pain, sexy torture time.
Well, hold on. Sexy. I mean, I see them. I don't see sexy at all. I mean, maybe that's just me.
That
but yeah,
tongue,
I mean,
man. Could you imagine having that tongue?
Okay, so not sexy to you or I, but it's all
sexy
stems
to him.
from,
Again, he was into it.
Yeah,
it all stems from like torture porn, like literal torture porn, not like hostile torture porn.
So
Okay.
the effects in this scene and throughout the movie, what did you guys think about the effects? Like overall, there's a point to this, but there wasn't like a ton of them. Like we had the one with the ice cream guy later after he gets like his ass beat. You see it in the back.
There were a few. The old man in the wheelchair. I mean, there were a few like cool things. Kind of reminded me of Beetlejuice a little bit. The guy, old man with his face.
Yeah. But the reason I'm saying is the budget for the movie was like $2 million, but the special effects budget was only $50,000.
That know what, they used it well because just this scene alone with their hands going under his skin was pretty impressive.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, so
yeah, there's definitely been worse Cenobite gore action in some of these movies, so I'm actually surprised that they only had $50,000. But I think for the most part it looks pretty good. Especially, I think like once we get to like Pinhead and the other Cenobites and things like that, I think it looks pretty good. The one thing I think looks awful is the engineer, our main baddie.
Oh, I have a question about the engineer. So when we get there,
Well, I don't know if I'll be able to answer it. But
so are these Cenobites the same in all the movies? Pretty much like the same, or are they different from every movie?
Pinhead's the same. For the first couple movies, we get some of
the Chatterer, and you get the female Cenobite.
Yeah, we get some of the same ones.
Okay, so the Chatterer, is he just cold? He's chopping his teeth like he's freezing.
Cold.
And in this one, that's why I was wondering about the budget, how amazing they did, because there was the one that we see multiple times that is just arms. And the top, there's no body behind it. It looks
they used all the budget on the 2 Cenobites. So they can
no, what I'm saying is, I'm saying that's why. It's harder to take out a body than to add like somebody in a full suit. It looked pretty good.
No.
Yeah, so Jamie, I don't know if you remember from Hellraiser 2.
I'm sure he doesn't, but ask away.
All Cenobites used to be human. They're all people that found the puzzle box and were turned into like sex demons, basically. So that's why throughout the movies you get other ones.
So you know what? I didn't know that they were all main characters at one point. Technically, I guess that found the box.
Yeah, ones you didn't see,
and they need new skin to become human.
So they become
right, because isn't that in the second one they were hanging skin all over the place? They were.
Oh yeah, I guess they did have the skin room.
Yeah, some people that get like taken by the Cenobites, like Uncle Frank in the first two movies.
Yeah.
Like he comes back from hell, so like he's like so he's taking skin from people so he can make himself whole again. People that become Cenobites, that's a whole other deal.
All right.
So that's why you get a bunch of different ones throughout the movies, because one, they wanted to make cool new character designs, and two, they can just excuse it away by saying, "Oh, they're just different Cenobites."
Right. Okay.
Aside from Pinhead.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So then, right after this, he's running away. He finally says, "Hey, this is weird," and he starts running. And isn't he like upstairs? He dives off. Yeah, he runs upstairs. Then he like dives down the stairs, falls over onto like a table.
When he saw the chattering one, because the chattering one was coming up the stairs.
Oh yeah,
so
that's what it was.
He was kind of cornered, so he had to jump over the staircase. But then he hears a child screaming.
Yeah, that's what it was. That's why he was looking upstairs at first.
Yes. No. He was coming out of when he went downstairs. I think when he heard the child.
Okay.
But it seemed like he was going like at one point he decided to go through the door instead of going towards the child's voice. Like he's like, screw it, I got to get out of here, kind of thing.
Well, that's his MO. That's who he is. He's like selfish, but then we find out like throughout the movie he's not. But I love when he opens the door because it has like the lock on it, and then you see Pinhead for a few seconds. And he like rips almost like grabs his nose and his eyes and then rips, and you sort of see something movie, and then boom, he wakes up and he's back in the hotel room. And then you're like, all right, what just happened? Like, what am I getting right now? Like, what was that? Was that just a dream or something else?
See, I was thinking that, it was dream, but it was real, like what was going on. And, eventually, like each time that was, because it was happening throughout the movie. And I was just thinking that it's really happening, but it's like internally happening, kind of like a psychedelic, because the movie is very psychedelic, this movie. So that's what I was thinking, because I mean, I was confused, but I knew something because the box was already open. So something was going on internally.
Then he gets to work. He doesn't even go home. That's what I mean. Like, bang a hooker, do what you want. Go home. Like, eventually, right? You have to sleep. And then this is the part of the movie, like, from when he left his wife and his, and his daughter, I swear, he is not home for 3 days. Because there's so much that happens in this day of the movie. So you got to think, this is the morning, he gets to work, he sees Tony, and phone call comes in.
Well, he definitely wasn't home for a while because his daughter starts crying, I think, later on.
Oh, yeah.
I want my daddy. So he totally ignores her, too. Like, although there's one scene when he's creepily, like, leaning over her, kissing her. Do you remember? Like,
yes.
Like, he just, and then that's it. So, yeah, he's a weirdo. But yes, he gets the phone call.
And that's something. Like, that whole part, when you heard that, you're like, all right, this is going to be something. It's like, because the Cenobites are in the real world. Like, that's the different element in this movie. I don't know if 4 does that or 3, but they've infiltrated, they got out of the box, so to speak, and they're
But
around.
How long are you going to stay on the phone and hear the screams without moving? Because he listened, he literally did not move. He heard her screaming. Like, all you would need to hear is one scream, hang up, and shoot over there.
Yeah.
Like, she was screaming for a while, and he was holding the phone. Like, he basically left after the screaming was done.
Yeah. He listens to the whole message.
He does, and there was no urgency on his part whatsoever. I think it's almost like he was worried that someone's going to hear that it's another woman on the other line, and that's like he was trying to be quiet about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's exactly what it was. And then he goes to the hotel. Right? Does he bring Tony, or does Tony follow him at this point?
Well, they're partners, so he probably brings Tony, I guess.
Oh no, because I know later in the movie Tony randomly shows up at a place, and he's like, I was following you. So, okay, so he brings Tony, and then he tells him what happened.
At the crime scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh, what a dick he is to Tony. Like, really?
Oh, well,
Poor Tony.
There's worse things later on. Yeah. But I mean, the fact that, like, so why didn't Tony go in with him? Like, why would he go to this hotel room and then he goes, all right, wait outside? Like, why wouldn't he? Because you didn't know what to expect, because he says he came out there and he told Tony, go in there and take a look at it or something. Like, so we didn't see anything yet. We didn't know what went on. But why would Tony wait outside?
Well, at this point, Tony doesn't realize, he doesn't know what's going on. He just, hey, my partner told me to come along with him. He knows this motel. He's like, well, he's probably assuming that he's meeting with like
An
a
informant
CI or something. He knows that Joe, there's something up, but he's not expecting what they walk into. So he's like, okay, I'll hang back, wait for Joe to come back. Then Joe's like, okay, now you go in. So and he's his partner, so he trusts him.
Right.
So he's assuming it's something that makes sense for him to be there.
Why does he trust him? It doesn't seem like this is like the first time that there was something, because he blows up so much. Obviously, this is sort of a big deal. A prostitute that you had sex with is dead in the shower. And again, that's why the budget probably is only $50,000, because they probably couldn't use it throughout the movie, because you don't see anything. You see her later in the movie, but it's really just something really simple that you could buy. Like, I don't know.
Right.
Probably easy to do.
Well, I mean, he was only on the force for what, 2 years, Tony? Like he said it was like a brief time. That's why
like
he said
5 years or something. That's why he was so pissed off.
I think it was less than that. I think Tony was less than that. And that's why he said, I've been on the force for a long time. Who are they going to believe? Later on. So, but I mean, he kind of threw, like, to me, he looked so guilty explaining what was going on when he was explaining to Tony that he met this girl last night, this happened, but I had nothing to do with it. He came across so guilty. Like, and I don't think Tony believed him right away.
No, and he was guilty, and then at the same time, when Tony goes in there, that's when he's rifling through the glove box, and you're like, all right, a pen, a cigarette. And then when they're in the room and he kicks the pack of cigarettes, he drops it, kicks it under the bed, and drops the pen. And like you mentioned, he basically just goes through this whole thing. Like a few scenes later, it's not like right away when he says he's going to turn him into the captain. You're like, holy shit. Like, really, dude?
You didn't realize what he was doing at first. And the other question I have is, so they're dusting, he convinces Tony that, all right, listen, Tony believes him, and he says, listen, even though Tony says, I'm not this kind of cop, you're my partner, I'm going to help you out. So they dust everything. But if he had sex with the hooker on the bed, sheets and everything, wouldn't there be some kind of, with the sheets? Like, I mean, wouldn't there be evidence?
We'll just hand wave that away. It's not a problem.
Okay.
Yeah. Wouldn't he have taken the sheets or, like, I don't know, like, clean her? I don't know. He didn't seem like a guy that uses protection. But I don't know.
Oh, not at all.
Just
I mean, you would think the sheets would have the most evidence. He'd probably touch the sheets more than anything else in that room.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it makes no sense. It's a tunnel of a plot hole.
Oh, what?
And the fact that, okay, I don't know how this works with cops, but if you call in as a cop and say, okay, there's a dead body at this motel, and then on the other end, you can't tell what they're saying, but obviously like, oh, well, how'd you find out? They're like, oh, Joe found out. You talked to him about it. It's like, wouldn't somebody call Joe and be like, hey, Joe, how you doing? How'd you find out about this dead body in this hotel room? Like, that has to be like some investigation, no?
And when did they wait around? I feel like they left right after they called.
They did. They call it in, and then I don't know if they're supposed to be like waiting outside.
Yeah, I would think they would be part of the whole crime investigation.
Yeah.
No. I'll call it in and then leave the dead body. So like when the maid comes in there.
So then we get the douche guy, Lollipop, who's supposed to be checking the prints. I love that he's reading. It's not even 20,000. Isn't the movie 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, or is it 50,000?
20,000.
20,000.
Okay, the book that the guy's reading is 50,000 Leagues Under the Sea. So they spent some of their budget to print a fake cover for him to read this. And he's sucking on this lollipop. And I love, again, because Joe's so smart, he goes, here's what I want you to look up in that computer. And he gives him something. The guy's like, huh, all right, fine. And then in seconds, a match.
Seconds.
What the fuck, man? Within seconds, and then there's 7 of them, right? Isn't there like 7 prints on the box or something, but only one actually gets a hit, and it's the body piercing guy.
Right. It was one match.
It's freaking, and then this scene. So,
first of all, his tattoos were so bizarre. I mean, so bizarre. I mean, was the guy look familiar though? I don't know if he was in anything, but I thought he looked kind of familiar.
No, he did. And the best part is I have to mention, because you just mentioned the tattoo, was when we think Joe sees 2 Cenobite women on his back, and then I forgot what the real tattoo was, and I'm like, that looks worse. Whatever it was, I forgot. It was just stupid.
I think anyway, it was a cross or something on his back or something.
Oh, was it?
I thought it was because he had the thorns on his head.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
So, but this is the start of Joe hallucinating, because this is the first time that he saw something that wasn't there.
Yeah,
or wasn't.
I think that might have been the first time.
I think so.
Yeah. But anyway, so then they have to zoom in on all these photos of the piercings, which like sort of like made me sort of gag. But how about some of these random lines? How about when the girl's leaving and Joe goes, "Another happy customer? She won't be giving head for a while." Jesus.
Dude, how about that whip they had there with the hooks?
Yeah.
That thing is disgusting. I mean, obviously you see it in play later on, but like, I was afraid of what we're going to see.
BDSM is a integral part to the Hellraiser series.
That's their
fans. Really?
And Clive Barker.
So is that a weapon that's used in all the movies?
Oh, no, but he'll throw in like hardcore like BDSM stuff and all, like leather whips, hooks.
I mean,
sexy stuff, Jamie. Sexy stuff.
I mean, yeah. When I think of sexy, I think of a leather whip with hooks on the end of it. That's
that's love. That's true love.
That is love.
So then he is interviewing the guy, and then the guy brings up the piercer guy. He brings up the name the Engineer. Why would he drop that? If this is like what we find out, how crazy everything involved with this box and the people involved and the cowboys at the poker bar are involved with.
Can't wait.
but why would he give that up? Pretty simple. I know he says that I think he was out on parole, so he like said something, pinned it on him because of the weapon that was found. Oh, the hooks that were found were the same one as the guy in that opening scene in the mansion. But like, that guy gives it up pretty quick. He's like, the Engineer.
Well, because the Engineer is playing games with him throughout the whole movie. So he's got to get him on the trail of the Engineer, because this is the Engineer's whole plan. I mean, everything I would say from this point on is all orchestrated by the Engineer.
From the time Daphne is killed, from Daphne's death on, we're in like Hellraiser Dreamland,
right?
Blending of reality and hell. Because
if he doesn't give up the Engineer, he doesn't start going on the trail. So that's like that. He needed to do that. So yeah.
So you can see, you see it as two things. It's one is that, and then the other one is he's giving him information to get him out, just get him out of my place. And if I give him something, maybe he'll leave me alone.
And the Pearson guy was a pretty big guy. I don't know if he'd be able to get roughed up the way he was.
Well, he sort of wanted it, because he said, "Are you gonna?"
He doesn't want to put hands on a cop.
Doesn't he say, "Are you gonna fight me or fuck me?"
Yeah. Well, do you think he was looking for either one?
I think he was looking for the latter. So then Joseph, he needs some drugs because he hasn't slept in weeks, probably. So he goes to his ice cream truck dealer.
Can this be any more of a trope? I mean, like, they always joke around with like ice cream trucks being like the creepiest,
Big Worm.
They really, but like what?
Big Worm from Friday, ice cream truck.
Yeah. I mean, but I mean, first of all, he had porno inside the truck, all over the walls. He was the creepiest. I mean, like, they really made it as creepy as possible. This guy. I don't even know if he sold ice cream.
No, I don't think he had ice
I didn't
cream
see
at
any
all.
freezers inside.
Yeah, no, he sold ice cream. Remember that he gave those kids were walking away
Oh, yeah,
with their frosty treats as Joe is coming up to get his fix.
Well, he's also a pedophile, right? Because he made a joke about, like, oh, how young is she? And he goes, no, she's too old for you, or something like that. Joe made a comment.
Yeah, I took that as more of just like a dig at him, not really saying he's
that guy was kind of
I
weird.
don't know. I had him as, definitely something that would go down that, that, I mean, listen,
Yeah.
he had porn inside the ice cream truck where kids are coming in.
That's fair.
That's fair. So there was a mess up in this. I don't know if you call it mess up or the goof, but they did a shot in this scene, and I guess they realized afterwards that they had to cross off one of the logos because they would get sued. So it was like I don't know if it was a Nestle bar, but some brand name bar. So within the same scene, like 30 seconds later, they have it like scribbled out with like red magic marker.
Really?
Yeah. The legal department was like, oh shit, you guys got to get a red magic marker and go back and do it. They didn't reshoot the other part.
Did you notice that, or?
No, I just read it on like the goofs. This movie doesn't have a lot of goofs, and usually like movies have a ton of them. So,
but see, now that's how good it is, because none of us noticed that. So,
Good.
And you think about that, like, how obvious is that? They're crossing off with magic marker. That should be like so obvious, and none of us saw it.
that good. They're that good.
Yeah.
So in this scene, he thinks that the ice cream drug dealer knows who the engineer is. So he whoops his ass, okay? And then nobody wants to talk about him. And then he mentions that everybody knows him, who the engineer, is. And he says, you hunt for the engineer will hunt you.
Well, he goes to a whole story about the engineer, right? The scene. He does a little story time.
Little story time about the engineer. Yeah, because he talks about not himself. It was somebody he knew interacted with the engineer. Yeah.
Yeah. Like this little peon of a guy is going to know that inside story about the engineer.
Oh, yeah. No, I wrote it down. So the story was about his buddy Terry. And then he goes, your buddy Terry's a liar. He goes, no, man, I saw a look in his eyes. And that scene, the reenactment, that was a crazy scene. When the guy goes home, because his wife was like gone for days, and he gets home to find a note, and then he lifts the blanket, and the head just rolls, and there's blood everywhere. That was pretty good, actually. There were some really good scenes.
I thought he was making it up. I thought he was making it up just to get him out of there.
This whole movie is just people telling Joe what he wants to hear to get him out of there. Like, he interviews some bartender. The guy's like, okay, the engineer lives on the corner of Main and 7th, okay? And get out of my hair. And then Joe goes there, roughs up somebody that has no idea what he's talking about. That guy goes, oh, Belinda, the hairstylist? She used to date the engineer. And then he goes up, and then it's just
Keep passing him along.
That'd be a funny movie. And at the end, everybody's like, dude, we didn't know who you're talking about.
But is all this happening because they have, like, it's all fated?
Yeah.
So he's on this track. It has to happen.
I mean, I don't want to go too far, but is this like Groundhog Day?
Oh, well,
Okay,
it is. It gets to that.
Okay. But is it like forever Groundhog Day?
I don't know.
So, yeah. All right.
No, we'll get into it, but no,
Okay.
it's something like that. And then we get a random kid who obviously got paid by the engineer or someone else to give him VHS tapes. He gave him 2 VHS tapes in a bar, right? They were in a bar.
He was in a bar, and he decided to play the evidence in a bar in front of everybody.
Yeah, that's the first time, honestly, that I was like, what's going on right now? Like, is this happening?
That was so stupid. I was thinking that these little characters, though, were all Pinhead. I thought he was like all these characters leading him to where he needed to go. Like, where would they find a little kid to deliver that? Who delivered it to the little kid? I feel like Pinhead might have been like each one of these characters.
I guess if I was a kid and somebody was like, "Here's $20 to give this guy VHS tapes," I'd be like, "Oh, what's on him?" And they'd be like, "Oh, it's just old family footage." I'd be like, "All right, cool."
So who's the guy? Who's giving the kid?
I don't care who it would be. If it was some stranger, I wouldn't care. $20, $20.
The kid is actually
So instead of candy, you're okay with kids getting videotapes from strangers. But candy, no, but videotapes, absolutely.
Actually, Pinhead, but it's definitely like the supernatural bleeding into reality.
No, of course.
There's always people and things coming in and out of the story to progress it, to the next step.
I just like how Doug thinks it's okay for little kids to get random videotapes from strangers.
$20, man.
Doesn't matter what's on it.
It's not like he's telling them to play it. That'd be weird if he was like, "Hey, kid, here's $20. Go and put this in your VCR." Then, no.
Wait, what kid is not going to be curious about what's on the tape? Come on.
I don't know if it's actually a little kid though. That's the thing.
What?
I don't think it's Pinhead, but I don't know if it's actually a human child.
We'll get to all this. We'll recap a lot of this.
Yeah.
So then in the tape, in the middle of this bar, which it looks like a dive bar, so there's nobody in there.
No one's watching.
He's watching the ice cream guy just get shellacked by that hooked like leather whip thing. And he's getting just,
disgusting. I mean, and you hear the screams and everything else. And again, this is in the middle of a bar. He doesn't seem concerned that anyone else is watching this.
Nope.
And I mean, obviously the bartender put it in there. Like how did he get
he
it
put
in?
it in. Joe went up and did it. No, he just walked up to it.
Was no one else was around?
No one was around.
The game is on one TV and the crime scene's on the other one.
Okay.
That'd been funny if you had a really old guy like with his head in his beard and he's like, "Hey, asshole, I was watching the Jets game."
Or he goes, "I've seen that one before. What's the movie called?"
Yeah.
Also,
it just made no sense that he did that, but maybe it makes sense when we get to later. Maybe it does.
Also, I was just thinking, it has no bearing on the story whatsoever, but this is supposed to be Denver, and it looks like LA the entire time.
What? Wait, the country bar looks like LA?
No. The movie.
The movie does look like LA,
in Denver,
minus the country
but
bar.
everything about it,
Okay.
except even the dive bar, I get it, but the city, everything, it's LA.
I never been.
It looks hot. I know Denver gets hot during the summer, but it just looks.
No, it
doesn't. It looks like
one thing I read. Egan was somewhere. I think it is supposed to be LA, but maybe they wanted to shoot on location for cheaper for some reason or something. There was somewhere in the summary of the movie, like when it got put out, that somebody left LA in the synopsis,
right?
like
LA, on like
LA detective. But they were like, "Oh shit." Scribble it out with that same red marker they did for the Nestle bar.
It's supposed to be Denver. The movie is set in Denver, but there's flubs on different synopses.
So let me ask you. Maybe since we know what the twist is, do you think it's possible that these people like at the bar are not really there? Like even though because again, it seems that when he goes to these different scenarios, even the country bar later on, there's only one or two people that he interacts with, and no one else seems to be aware of what's going on.
His whole world could be false.
That's what I mean. Like, I feel like
he could be sitting in a cell in hell,
right? Okay,
or comatose or whatever.
Right.
He could be anywhere, and this is just this like dream world version of his life replaying.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. When I got to the point that I thought that, I was like, just don't please be one thing. So we'll get to that because it works out, I think, in my head. But like as like a viewer, I was like, all right, this is okay. So then the captain in this movie that he has to go see when he gets back to the office. Oh, when he brings the tape.
He brings the tape and it's nothing on it.
Suspicious.
So how obvious right now does all this look pointed at him? He knew, and no, didn't he also know exactly where
the finger was?
Because it was in a cash. He goes, it was in a cash register or something like that. Right. So like, why are they not like thinking that he's involved somehow? Especially Nick.
Yeah, I feel like most movies that would be the subplot, or it would turn into the A plot. Would be that he's he's the supposedly guilty figure, But I guess there's just not enough. There's not enough space and time in this movie.
Or again, they're just those important details are not important because they're all part of his hell.
It's just this,
and doesn't make everything he does doesn't make a difference because it's all leads to the same thing over and over again.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
There you go.
And you have Nikki.
I mean, I think we're definitely
later,
thinking deeper into this movie than most people did that worked on it.
Yeah. No, but Nikki does at one point. He goes, "You knew the hooker. You knew the show. The guy you went to school with. Everybody, the ice cream man. He was your CI, and like." So, but even at this point, when the captain talks to him, the captain only mentions like, "Hey, he was your CI, right?" And he's like, "Used to be my CI. I haven't worked with him in months." At this point, especially with the tape not having anything on it, and him knowing where the finger is, wouldn't the guy be like, "You know what? Give me your badge and gun. You need some rest." No, he just says, "Go talk to the shrink." That's it.
And he makes it mandatory. Yet he's able to cancel the appointment very easily. So, but yes.
I'm just not going to go today.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. But, okay, so I have a huge question about this.
About James Remar? Dr. Gregory?
Yeah. He's awesome. I mean, from Warriors to Beverly Hills Cop, I mean, he's awesome. So
legend.
He's the police station psychiatrist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But we know later on what he really is. So what is he like in real life? In that, is he always the other thing, or like, what I'm saying? Like I was confused,
So to discuss this, I think we just have to get into the twist of the movie.
Yeah, well, let's just talk about it now because it makes sense.
Okay.
Because we've kind of been dancing around it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that Dr. Gregory is a real person, and because of this dream state, fate, whatever that Joseph is reliving, or maybe this is the first time he's going through this. I think Pinhead could have popped out at anyone. I think in this series of events, but he chose to come out of Dr. Gregory just because it made the most sense where the story's going. So I think it's just he could have come out of anyone in Joseph's life because the whole thing is false.
Okay.
Yes.
Or it's a false retelling or whatever.
So you think that's Pinhead the first time he meets him? That's Pinhead? Or do you think it's not Pinhead yet? Like,
well, what we see how early do we see Dr. Gregory? I know it's an earlier scene in the movie,
it's
but
pretty. I mean, it's
like one of the first
30
scenes,
minutes
right?
in, 40 minutes in.
Yeah,
pretty early.
So
I mean, it was a quick scene. It was very quick because he decided to cancel it. So yeah,
right. Yeah, I think at that point he's already. I think it's
already set in motion.
It's already set in motion, so it could be Pinhead. It could just be.
Okay, but you think it's a real person? he just happened to take him just for the purpose
choose
of
him.
So we're seeing like a false version of Joseph's real life. So it's all people that are actually in his life.
Fair enough.
Because he didn't know him, and obviously, wouldn't the cops? He seems like he's probably been to a shrink before, right? Because he was like,
if not, he should have been.
He should have been, yeah. Because later in the movie, another scene later in the movie, because he, like Jamie said, he's able to reschedule this real quick, which makes sense to the whole thing. Because it's like, shit, I don't want you here for an hour and a half or whatever. I want you to be out there, getting to the ice cream man. Because that's the next scene right after this is when he goes right to that scene. He finds the finger and he freaks out, to Tony.
But would the captain allow him to go back out there when he didn't do the... Right,
of course, that's what I mean. Yeah. Right. No, that's what made no sense. But no, later in the movie, Joseph goes to the office where he lives at because it's his house because it's the middle of the night when he goes there. And because in that first session, they talk about their families a little bit. And he talks about his daughter. And Remar, Dr. Gregory, says, "Oh, I have a daughter. She's my whole world. And then later when he knocks at like 1 a.m, he's not like, keep it down or anything. It's just like, okay, no, I was just waiting for you, because he's like, so that's why at that point I was like, he just seems so odd, because he's always like ready for him. Like even at like the middle of the night, he's like ready to talk to him and almost is like expecting him to come. So like throughout the movie, I was like, who's going to be like this weird twist within the world? At some points, I thought it was going to be Tony.
That, you know what? Honestly, so did I. I thought the same thing.
But no. And this is the second
that
time.
That would have been a good twist, though. That would have been a good twist if it was Tony.
Yeah, because you wouldn't have.
Yeah.
I know we sort of like guessed it, because I guessed it because just watching movies, I'm like, oh, well, it's got to be somebody different. But so this is the second or third time that he does the magic, because he's doing the Chinese balls, which is that magic. Oh, yeah, he makes them disappear. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is where he gets really emotional, and he's probably coming down from the coke and the alcohol, because he goes, oh, your daughter must love that close-up magic. And he goes, huh, I never really showed her it. And I'm like, whoa, this is like...
Well, maybe it's a nervous thing for him. Maybe he needs to do it when he's nervous. Like he was nervous with a hooker.
Yes.
You know, he was afraid he wasn't going to be able to perform, so he had to do a little magic. A pre-performance. So,
God, I love that. So then Tony and Joseph go to the bar.
Oh, okay.
The cowboy poker bar.
That made no sense.
What was the lead? What was the lead to go there? Was there this was another fingerprint?
It was a phone call, right? Because they checked the phone message on the phone.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Of the ice cream guy, yeah.
Yes. I mean, but this was a legitimate cowboy bar, because every single person in there had a cowboy hat. Every single person.
Yep.
And it seemed like it was in the middle of nowhere, because when he runs out of there, all there are woods everywhere.
Yeah, this is the point in the movie where we really flip into this is nonsense. It felt like it was like a David Lynch fever dream.
It was just so yeah. It really made no sense to have a cow. Like they could have done a local bar. Like why a cowboy?
What is Denver?
What?
It is Denver. It's LA for Denver.
So
air quotes.
Is Denver known to have ninja cowboys?
Yes.
I mean, cowboy hats.
and so he goes in the bar. Where was Nick this whole time?
Waiting in the car, I guess. He always has to wait in the car.
I mean, so what kind of partner is that? He seems to be missing everything.
Hey, Nick, you wait in the car.
Yeah, because even later, he just shows up after everything. Yeah. But no, how about the fact when they pull up, it's not like they're parking in the lot, because they're parking like near a tree. There's no cars in there. So in my head, I'm like, oh, they're going to show up here. There's going to be like one guy there. No, there's like 40 cowboys in there.
It was packed. Well, they rode horses there.
And then the guy he talked to was like a very familiar looking face. I don't think it's a guy that I think is in a bunch of stuff. But anyway, he is talking about the engineer and he'll hunt you. And it's like that whole thing. So that's when Joe sees another like Cenobite face.
Yep.
So he goes after it. And
well, this is the second time we missed it. This is the second time he sees the face, because he saw one at the police station also.
And he jumps over and tries to beat the guy up.
Yeah. Well, this is the second time now he's seen this. So yeah, and I like this guy. The guy that you said looks familiar. He does look familiar, but I love the way he had that like the conversation with Joe. Like he was very calm, collected, and he was like so like almost like cocky of the way he was talking to Joe. Like, listen, you have no idea what you're getting yourself into, kind of thing. Like, it was a good like little speech from him.
Yeah, I would say like 75% of this movie is like, I think, a really good movie. There's just those other pieces that I don't know if you took them out or swapped them out or however it would make more sense. But no, even this part, I'm not saying leave it at that. Maybe have somebody kick his ass. But the fact that it's ninja cowboys that follow him out and just kind of make quick work of him.
Very quick work. And I would have thought like it would have been a Cenobite or something, like it made no sense that it was cowboys. Like I don't know. Yeah. This whole like bizarre scene. And then all of a sudden out of the blue, Nikki comes. Like, where was he this entire time?
Just in the car.
And that's why but that's why I thought he might have been behind us all, because why wasn't he there? Like it was almost like he was setting everything up, and that's why I thought he was the engineer.
Hmm. And the Cenobites are in the trees. Like you're thinking, like, are the Cenobites going to start jumping down at him? No, just the ninja cowboys. But yeah, so then out of nowhere, like you said, Tony gets him. He wants to bring him to the hospital, and then and then this is when he goes to meet with James Remar, and then he tells James Remar about the engineer and everything. His ears perk up, and then he's stringing him along, talking about which foreshadowing later in the movie. But then he tells the story about a guy that was a cop here that found this box and went through the whole kind of what he was going through. It was kind of the exact same story. And then at the end, he sat at his desk and blew his own brains out. So then Joe's like fascinated by all of this, and then that he knows so much. So that was interesting that he knew. So like, what are the chances? Joe goes to high school with the one guy, the hooker that he was with. His new psychiatrist happens to know everything about it.
Well, he is a psychiatrist. I mean, I would assume people like Joe are going to be seeing him quite often.
Yeah. And then Joe shows the cube because he goes, nobody really has the cube. I've heard stories about it, but I've never seen it. And like you said, he's always carrying this on him. So like,
where's he carrying it? Because it is pretty bulky, the cube.
And he gets his ass kicked. So couldn't it get fallen out? Like that's a good, like a gooder movie. A better movie would be because people want it so bad, kind of like in the second one when that doctor, that creepy doctor, is trying to. He wants the cube so bad, so he's like searching for it. So maybe if somebody was wanting this so much from him and stealing it from him, but no, he's carrying it this whole movie. Couldn't even keep his car.
It's not like it's bigger than a Rubik's cube. The cube.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
No. There's literally no reason that he should be carrying.
No, it's not going to fit in his pocket.
Yeah, it's like banging in his suit jacket the whole time.
And here's the line that I was kind of mentioning earlier about like time frame of this movie. So the doctor says, "Wait, you opened the box?" And he goes, "Yeah, I opened it last night." So this has been a day. Think about what happened in the entire day. Like, dude, the ice cream man, the going to the cowboy bar, him seeing the shrink the first time. All of this was happening.
Was that also the piercing guy?
Piercing guy, all of that in one day.
Well, that's why he's such a good cop. He doesn't waste any time.
He's the Jack Bauer of Hellraiser movies.
Yeah, Jack Bauer never slept. Yeah, never slept.
No, it was real
never slept, never took a shit.
And then
what is this movie?
I know. And then I do love a line that Dr. Gregory says. He says, they come for you and they leave, but if you're still seeing them, then they are still here. And this is where Joe's driving and he sees Rachel Currens in her like small role, but when the way they zoom in on the little girl in the rain crossing in front, you're almost like, in my head, I was like, dude, did Rachel have a bigger role and she didn't tell me? Because you're like, you never do that with a rando character like that. It's so weird to see how long they stayed on her, like when she kind of like froze.
I thought she was going to turn around. Like at one point, she was going to turn around and turn to like a face of a Cenobite or something.
That'd
like
be good.
Some kind of demon kind of face, like something. And no, nothing.
Yeah, once in a while you'll get something like this in a horror movie. I've seen it like in older stuff, like stuff from like the 70s, early 80s. It'll be like a zoom in, and same thing. It'll essentially amount to nothing. And I think it's supposed to be kind of like. I think it's supposed to kind of put us in the headspace of the main character that's seeing whoever it is, whatever. So I think it's kind of like, what do you take away from it? Even though it's not always effective. I don't think it's effective here really. Cause it leads to like conversations like this where it's just posing more questions than answers. And I don't think there's any answers. Really. Like, I don't think it's,
no, it's probably showing you like the mind of the main character, what he's being observant about and what he's seeing, and like what's going through his head, and yeah. But is it supposed to
Sometimes
be like
there's a
something to
point
throw you
when
off,
there
like
isn't.
the scent? Like, all right, why is this important? And now, yeah.
Yeah, and then we hear the
So
kid's
I
voice
think
again
that-
at this point. This is where we hear the kid's voice,
Yeah.
and this is when he's like, "Oh crap! I bet I got to go home." So this is when he goes
Yeah.
home, and then this is where shit gets like. This is where he's hovering over his daughter. This is where he's hovering.
Yeah.
The wife walks in. She sees him because he's all cut up from getting his ass kicked by the ninja cowboys. And then she wakes up and says, "Dad, are you home for good?" And then I wrote, according to my calculation, he hasn't been home in days. And is she still in just bed? Has she been sleeping this whole time like this daughter? Like, he seems like he's not home a lot anyway. Does
Yeah, but
she
he comes
really
home,
care?
it's nighttime. So he comes home at night all the time. So listen, his routine is probably coming home at night, for like 2 seconds to go back out to the hooker.
Grab some leftovers
Yep.
with like a label on them that
Exactly.
says like husband.
That's it. So it's, yeah. Oh, another case tonight. Sorry, I got to leave.
Sorry, babe, I caught a case.
Dude, in this next scene, this is where the movie just goes like off the handles. And some works for me and then some doesn't. But so
Well, this is where it starts going really deep down the rabbit hole.
Oh,
this is
dude.
where it starts. Yeah.
when he's on the bed and he's laying there, she's treating his wounds. You're like, this guy's going to sleep. He needs it. Sleep. Phone call comes in and you don't hear the other side, but he's like, it's your mom. She said an engineer visited me. And then he gets in the car. He flies to the Colorado Convalescent Care, which I didn't Google that, but I'm guessing it's for people that are it's sort of hospice, maybe.
Well,
Because the one guy's,
both his parents are there, though.
which makes no sense. So
Yeah.
obviously we find out later, like, what is this really? But the fact that he goes into the place, the nurse has no idea that they even have a kid. So he's not a good son. That tracks with him.
You shouldn't be surprised at that.
No. But when he goes into the room, I'm like, we're about to see like two people in deathbeds. No, the mom's knitting, and she's a mom that's in a million things. I couldn't.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to look it up, but she's in a bunch. But she's knitting and his dad just like laying there like almost in hospice, and you're like, what is this place? Does she have to live like that?
Yeah. No, I mean, it could be like one of those like home health, communities for, like 75 and above, whatever. This is where he starts to unravel. Like, he's had his composure from half the movie. He's been in control, but now he's starting to, I think, slowly unravel and believe that he's going crazy. Like he thinks he's going crazy at this point. Because it just only starts getting worse now. And you can see it even in his face, his expressions, like he's like completely lost.
Yeah, and this is where previous scenes were, I truly think that once what's her name, Daphne, the prostitute, dies, I think that's the cutoff point where things become supernatural, like fully.
Yeah.
This is where we as an audience are seeing how strange things really are.
Right.
So everything else is plausible. It could be weird, but it could also it's weird, but it could also be truly what's happening. This is where we're starting to see like the cracks forming in the reality. So I'm sure his parents are or were like in like a assisted living, but this is where it's starting to like fall apart and get weird, and we're seeing like this is a version of the truth, but it's breaking down.
Well, we start also seeing a lot of repetition, like
Yes.
scenes repeating itself,
Yeah.
with different outcomes. So yeah,
which makes sense with like a dreamlike state
correct.
And like a purgatory state.
it's almost like the Freddy Krueger movie when they were running around the car,
Yeah.
right? And
And Dream Master, yeah.
Dream Master, yeah.
Yeah. No, but then this is where we see the old man in the wheelchair with the hooks and he's laughing like a little kid. And then where does he go from here? This is when, so he sees his parents, he goes into the bathroom, and then that's when he's in like his childhood bedroom from there.
Is this where he shoots his mom?
No, that's later.
Okay,
That's the next time he goes into this room.
all right. Okay,
I wrote his dad looks like Christopher Lloyd.
he does a little bit.
Party.
But no, so then he goes he's in that bedroom, and then we hear the Cenobites, that scene was cool. So the way they did work things with the budget, I guess, they did do that. You don't have to see it to feel it, like what was happening. Because in here, the mom on the other side of the door, she wasn't really doing a great job at her screaming and talking. So I think I would be like blood curdling. But then the bucket of blood gets poured underneath the door,
which seemed like a lot of blood.
It was a lot of blood for that.
It was a lot of blood.
Look, it's all her blood, all right? It's all of it.
And it was very thick blood. I mean, when you're older, your blood thins out a little bit. That was like thick, muddy blood.
My family always had good blood, Joseph. We always had thick blood. Things that grandma would say. So then this is when he wakes up, and then nothing. Like in my head, I'm like, wait, did none of that just happen? Like really, did none of that just happen? And then boom, phone call comes in. Same thing. This time he goes back, and he thinks it's smart to just run past the nurse. And
the security guard. I mean, the security guard the first time didn't even move.
He didn't care. Yeah.
This time he follows him,
getting ready to kill him. Well, I guess the first time he kind of sort of signed in. The nurse is like a little. No, he didn't sign in. He ran the first time. Yeah.
But the security guard sat in that chair and didn't get up the first time. But this time he does get up.
He does. And then how about when they go into the room, and then the nurse goes, "We tried to call you a few hours ago. Your parents went missing."
Dude, okay. First of all, are there security guards at like nursing homes? Is there a lot of crime at nursing homes that they need security guards?
People are stealing old people, man. They want their thick blood. Vampires are taking them. Zombies are taking them. Now, I don't know about an armed guy that was ready to like shoot on sight, but maybe there should be.
If you're going to have a security guard, usually it's an older person also at like, it's probably one of the residents that, that's allowed to sit in the front and be security. It's not going to be someone with a gun.
Yeah. All right. It's Frank's turn. Frank was a cop 70 years ago.
It's probably like a resident who has Alzheimer's who just thinks he's a security guard. So they let him sit up front.
That would have been funny. Like Bruce Stern, put Bruce Stern at the front desk. But no, so then the lady's like, it's so odd because he can't leave. He hasn't gotten out of his bed in years. And then when the lady leans on the bed and you see the blood, boom, I was getting flashbacks from the second movie with the mattress that was eating people. Yep. That's all I could think about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought that was going to come back. I was thinking chains were going to be on that. But none of that happened.
Nothing.
We're not in that kind of sequel.
No, just a lot of blood.
Just a lot of blood.
There wasn't any body parts or anything, right? It was just blood.
Just blood.
Yeah.
How do you explain that?
You can't. Like really? What was?
And how bad can not even security, just the front desk be if two old people, one's on his deathbed, are missing?
Yeah, there's no cameras. They have money for a security guard, but not security cameras. I think the cameras make more sense.
But how fast are they moving? I mean, if you're at a nursing home, you're gonna have nurses walking around. You're gonna have a lot of people walking around like here and there. You're gonna tell me those people are gonna be able to leave that fast?
Yeah,
that they're like, we can't find them.
And then they left him a nice little present too.
They did.
The rules of reality really don't.
Yeah,
they really. Yeah, nothing matters.
Yeah, nothing. No, at this point,
doesn't have to make sense.
No, nothing matters at this point, especially when you see the gift wrapping. It was like for a kid's birthday present. It was like a ring box, sort of like a large ring box. He opens it up, and there's 2 fingers in there. So at this point, I think we're at how many fingers are we at this point?
You're at 4, I think. Yeah, because there's 1 more left, right? He says.
Well, one of the fingers they put into Tony.
No. Yeah, right. We have Tony, so I think maybe it's more than 4 then.
Maybe 5 because it only gets up to 6 before.
Then it's 4 because Tony's is 5.
Okay. Jeez. So that this whole thing, and then Tony shows up and says the captain wants to see you. So Tony was like sort of following him this whole time. Or no, his wife told him where he was.
He seems to be following him the whole movie, and just never, shows up when he needs to.
Never going in.
A few steps behind.
Maybe Tony's been waiting in a car all this time. Every time he goes somewhere,
he's just sitting in the back seat. He's like, "Oh my God, Tony, you're just sitting here." He's like, "You never invited me in your house
to get out."
Yeah. So then they fight a little bit. He throws punches at him, and then he's apologizing to Tony. And then, on that card was an address. I forgot what the address was, like some apartment C at some street. So I did love this part. I don't know if this has been used in other movies before. To my knowledge, was like real quick watching it. When he gets to that and he goes upstairs to apartment C, and it's just a telescope, I thought that was so cool. Like, I loved everything about that.
Listen, the engineer, man, he's creative, and he's able to set up these little things.
Some would say he engineers it.
He does.
But the fact that guy grabbed Tony that quick, like Tony was behind him. I know he knocked Tony on the ground, but it's not like he was knocked out. So that guy, well, does it make sense? Well, like, is this really happening? But because whoever the engineer would have to have grabbed Tony and driven faster than Joe and tied him up in time.
Well, I think that this engineer has some kind of supernatural powers that I don't think the engineer really drives.
Oh, so he could teleport. So he teleported there.
I would assume so.
Okay. Space time means nothing.
Yeah.
This whole movie means nothing.
It really doesn't.
Yeah, I kind of enjoyed it when I was watching it, but the more we talk about it, the more my head's fucking hurting, man.
I guess because it doesn't follow. I know there's not rules to movies like this, but there's some kind of like.
Well, you know what?
You know what it is? There's a good story here. I think
yeah.
there's a good story here, a good ending. I just think it's the way it was put together was not done well. Like, I think if they did this a different way, made it a noir, and and with a twist and everything else, it would almost like a Memento kind of like, you could have made it a much better movie, but I think they were just trying to make it a Hellraiser movie, which kind of ruined the story that they had.
Yeah. It's weird too. It's like there's elements that track with the franchise as a whole, and then there's other things that just don't. It's a diversion onto they forced it into
correct
the Hellraiser franchise when it wasn't meant to be. So certain things line up, other things don't. And I think if they had made it whatever it was originally supposed to be, I think it would have been like a fine supernatural thriller. It has some good stuff, it has some bad stuff, and it falls apart because it's telling us that nothing. By the end, it's telling us that most of this isn't real or it doesn't matter, and it's it doesn't play with the rules of reality. So you're kind of like, well, I guess it doesn't matter, so I'll just sit here and watch it.
Well, I think if they stuck to the original plan, it really wouldn't be a supernatural movie until the last 5 minutes. It would be a thriller. Like, I think, it would be a thriller kind of movie, and then you realize what was going on. Where here it's got the whole supernatural element that doesn't make sense in half the parts of what's going on. So I think that's where it is, because this could have been a good thriller.
Yeah, I think the whole like purgatory thing, like him reliving event, I think that's all part of the original story. Right. It was them shoehorning in
correct
the Cenobites and the puzzle box and all that, which works to a point, but after if you've been watching these movies, it just doesn't track with what's come before. So that's kind of how the series continues. Like, every movie's kind of different.
I wonder if the original script is out there somewhere. Like, I would love to see if we could find it, and just read what it was supposed to be.
I really hope Ninja Cowboys was a mainstay. So real quick, while we're at this point, we're talking about the script. So the guy that there's two writers of this movie, but the director, Scott Derrickson, dude, after this movie, you got to start somewhere, right? From here, he did Urban Legends: The Final Cut the same year. He only wrote that, but he did Hellraiser, Exorcism of Emily Rose, The Day the Earth Stood Still, Sinister 2, Doctor Strange. Then he's doing a Labyrinth 2 that's coming out. And then there's a bunch of movies in between, but
Doctor Strange, I wonder how they got him to do that. I mean, so all those other movies were horrors and kind of like, like Doctor Strange was a huge movie, part of Marvel. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, for him to go from this.
I could tell you why they got him for that, because of how big a hit Sinister was when it came out. Plus, the Doctor Strange comics moved between kind of like I don't know if you saw the movie, more like mystical, magical stuff, action, and weird horror shit. There's some weird, creepy shit in like even the old Doctor Strange comics. So I think that's what got him on board, because he was actually going to write and direct the sequel that's coming out next year, and he wanted to make it's going to be somewhat of a horror film.
Oh, really?
Wow. Yeah, he wanted to make it like a truly scary. He was like, I want to make the first real horror movie
in the
MCU.
Wow.
And I think he took it a little too far, because they kind of kicked him off the they split because of creative differences.
Oh, wow.
But now I think I'm sure he's going to get like a writing credit on it or something. But now they have Sam Raimi coming in. But what is Sam Raimi known for?
Right,
Spider-Man, weird horror.
No, he's also known for what's his name? Ash, Evil Dead.
Well, yeah. He's known for like quirky horror comedy, and of course, like he did the first Spider-Man trilogy. But I think we're gonna get a super weird horror movie from him anyway.
Oh, wow.
I think Scott Derrickson was gonna make it too scary for what they want, and I think we're gonna get a nice like Evil Dead level weird movie because Sam Raimi's on it now. But yeah, Scott Derrickson,
all the behind the scenes of the MCU, and you get it all.
This is why he's our horror expert.
Horror expert, man. So then we get a call from the engineer, because Tony across the way is getting stabbed in the back, and he gets whipped in the. Oh yeah, he's getting whipped again. Yeah, and then he gets a finger shoved in his mouth, a child's finger.
But
what a way to go! And the engineer calls. The voice is familiar, so I don't know why they let us hear it at this point. I guess because we're gonna see it in a second, and we mentioned it before, but it says "Time to go home, detective," and then he shows up at his house, shotgun ready to roll, and he walks in, and it's snowing, and his wife and daughter are on a pinhead contraption that's spinning in the room, like nails on it. Yeah, like in Frozen.
No, but they're they're frozen. They're still alive, but they're frozen. There, which I thought with the little girl, there was a little gross when her hand broke.
No. Yeah, it was very gross.
Are you home?
So then Dr. Gregory is like watching him, and I think he said something just before this, but
Daddy's was home. He's here.
Ugh.
I miss you.
Daddy's
Dad.
finally home.
When are you coming home?
Gross. I mean, like I can see him doing it for the wife, but the daughter, the little girl, like that made it even worse. Oh, and not for nothing, he's been a shitty dad and husband this whole movie. Now he's concerned.
Well, he doesn't want his family to die.
He's not. He hasn't thought about him the whole movie. I don't know. I don't know.
He cared more about the child's voice. That's why, like, to his character now, if, again, maybe it was in the original script, but they could have had, like, an element that he lost a kid or he lost a brother growing up or something that made him do that. But he doesn't care about his own kid and family, really. He's never home. He's banging hookers. He doesn't even sleep at home. And for him to care about that kid, obviously it makes sense because at the end of the movie, but well, I don't know. Does it really make sense? But, and then like you said, the hand cracking. And then right after that, everything cracks. Like they just, and then that's when James Remar, Dr. Gregory is explaining everything. And then he's getting like his tone of voice is getting a little like, I don't know, not like he's like a preacher, but he's like the way he's speaking about everything. And then Pinhead, he turns into Pinhead.
Yeah, that was just, and the way he does is kind of like, so like that, the body disappears.
Yeah.
Like it was a magic way. Like in the Hellbound, like it was like a bodysuit. Remember when she peeled that
It was,
bodysuit off?
Yep.
You know, and the bodysuit was like laying there of skin. Like it was just so stupid. Like this one, it was magical.
Yeah. Well, that's a different set of rules. That's someone that climbed out of hell using someone else's skin.
So does that mean then the doctor is now dead?
No.
Okay, so
this is like a dream world.
Okay.
Dr. Gregory wasn't actually there.
Gotcha. Okay.
Or is there is there? And then this is when he tells him just before
I think there is.
There has to be because the police captain sent him there.
I think there is a doctor.
Yeah.
I think, like I said before, I think all the people that we've seen are real people from Joseph's life, but this is a
right
hellish dream world retelling of events. So everyone there isn't actually there.
Okay, so what would happen if, because the engineer said, I want you to go home, and then he said something like, you went to the wrong home, right? I wanted you to go to the other. So what if so the engineer is waiting at his other home, knowing he wasn't to go to his other home. But what if he went to his other home? Would the engineer be waiting, like checking his watch? Like, come on. I mean,
you know what? Yeah, that does make sense. Well, I guess at this point, he's not. None of this is real.
It's not real, but then why would he even say you went to the wrong home when he was waiting at the other home the whole time anyway?
Yeah. And he talks about oh, you didn't recognize that voice. You're the kid. You're the child, and yeah, this whole thing. And then he goes, dude, how about when he goes? This part is really creepy. Like the whole rest of the movie with him in that shotgun is just something. Like what he's doing. So he goes back to his childhood room. And he's just following himself as a kid into the house because the mom calls for cookies or something. And he's just following this kid with a shotgun. And then, dude, when his mom turns around, because she's young, and then she turns really old within a second. And she has no eyes and blood. And, dude, he has to shoot his own mom.
Well, he shoots his dad too, doesn't he?
He shoots his dad. Oh, dude, yeah.
He shoots everybody.
Yeah, but it's not really them. Well, it doesn't matter. Okay, so, nothing matters.
So this whole childhood thing and the fingers, I don't understand. I really don't understand any of it. So because I thought they would have if they're going to show his childhood, I thought they would have showed a lot of a couple of negative things that he's done in his life. Why he's where he is, but they don't show any of that.
Nope.
They just show him as a child and then shooting his parents. The fact that they keep going back to this child screaming and these fingers. What sense does it make? I mean, am I missing something, or is it just I don't know what I'm missing? What do the fingers have anything to do with anything?
I'll be honest with you guys. I zoned out at this point. I was watching it, couldn't tell you what was going on. I'm like, okay, he's shooting.
So
people that are from his life.
Our resident horror expert. Doesn't understand.
Child version of himself in a wheelchair. Yeah.
Okay.
Missing fingers, pinhead.
Okay. All right.
Cool.
Then you know what? I don't need to know then. If the expert doesn't know, then forget about it. It's not important.
Well, this is the only thing I'd say about the fingers. If it was having to do with some of the fingers, why did they only get to 6? Was there supposed to be 3 or 4 other people? And
he said this is the last one. There's only one finger left. Yours.
That makes no sense.
It doesn't make sense.
Does Dr. Gregory or Pinhead not know how to count or how many fingers people have?
It just the whole kid thing didn't make sense because they didn't show anything. I can understand if they showed him maybe killing a cat or doing something wrong, but like a Damien kind of thing. This, he's such a bad guy that these are all the things that led up to where he is now. But nothing but him being a kid meant nothing.
No, it made absolutely no sense. And then again,
it also makes no sense that if he's in this purgatory and he's reliving events and he sees himself as a kid and they take his finger as a kid, but he's got all of his fingers as an adult.
Huh. Are you saying that he should be walking around with only 4 fingers?
Yeah, right?
Dude, I would have. Well, obviously, it would have gave away that it was him, but that would have been good if throughout the whole movie he's just with a finger's gone, and then he's trying to figure out.
I'm starting to get mad.
What if one finger would disappear every time they found a finger?
I know, that's what I mean. That'd be great.
That would make more sense. Or do you guys remember that movie Looper, where they time travel and they're cutting bits off the guy in the past or in the future, and then he's losing bits in the present, and
No, that's awesome. They could have. We're sort of fixing
There's a lot
the
of
movie
it.
there's
right
so
now.
much. There's so much that they could have done.
Yeah. Well, again, the budget was kind of low, so they,
But again, yeah, they wanted to just pump out another Hellraiser movie at this point. So
gotcha.
So then once again, it's snowing. He's in a bathroom. We don't know. Oh, well, you see right away that it is the bathroom from earlier.
Yeah,
like
the
you could
motel.
tell, right?
Motel.
Yeah. So then he's standing there and he sees the shower curtain, and the friggin' prostitute from The Hangover, the wife from The Hangover, jumps out, her throat slit, and it wasn't even like she was there to like scare him. She wanted to have sex. She started like grinding on him. Like
You did? Like,
she wasn't trying anything weird. And then he what did he do? Oh, he put the shotgun right into her. And then she.
no. This is where he starts shooting everybody.
Oh,
He didn't give anybody a chance. Like, I mean, what if they were like saying, listen, hey, like he didn't even question, like he really turned around, someone else shot him right away. Like there was no even trying to ask.
and I was just thinking about this because now talking about it, I guess things make more sense sometimes, like when we talk back. So then when he sees Tony, and Tony was whipped when his death, but he has like these daggers in his back because Joseph like stabbed him in the back. But that one thing, obviously the special effects budget somehow was $50,000. When he gets shot, dude, that looks so legit because that guy was
pulled back. He got pulled back. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what? You just said something. I didn't even think about it. And I'm not sure if they were that creative, if that's why, but you think he's got knives in his back because he was stabbed in the back?
By Joseph, because Joseph was going to set him up. Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
Yep.
Am I thinking too much? Scott Derrickson, can please?
that's definitely spot on.
Think so?
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
the subtext is text.
So are you saying the hooker has hooks in her?
She had her throat slit. That was it.
Which didn't.
Her throat was slut.
Oh my god.
And then it seems like
no slut shaming.
I'm just trying. Go ahead.
so now each time he shoots someone, like he shoots the prostitute, and then he opens the door, and then he's in his childhood home again. Shoots Tony, he leaves out of the front door, and then he's in the ice cream dealer's truck. He shoots him, so he's just shooting right away. Like that's all it is.
That's what I said. Like he doesn't like not even like at this point, I think after the hooker trying to, I guess, sexually kill him, and then you have Nick trying to throw knives at him, and his mom kind of freaking out. I think he's not taking any chances.
That's true. I guess that's what you got to do when you have like
Can't trust anybody. Got a shotgun them all.
when you're looking over, because right after this he's back in the mansion.
Yes,
because then that's when he's seeing the Cenobites like feeling each other up. So Patricia Cara and whoever the other girl was, they're like feeling each other up, and then the Cenobite or the Chatterer is just crawling. So then he kicks a door open, and it's pitch dark. So then right at this point, there's a note that I didn't mention, but at this point, I'm like, I swear to fucking God, if this is like a Bob Newhart scenario or like Corky, right? What was the show with Corky? That movie was
Life Goes On.
Life Goes On. That movie, I mean, that show.
Was it Life Goes On, or was it no? What's the one with when he was staring into the globe?
Yeah,
that wasn't Life Goes On.
No, that's
I know
Seen Elsewhere.
You're saying Elsewhere, correct?
Okay, that's what it is.
Like
Yep.
Yeah.
So then, just like in Newhart, last episode, he wakes up and he's in the original Newhart show. So I really thought that that's what this was going to be, and then it almost happened. So he's talking. So he's in that room, and he sees him as a kid sitting there, tied up in a chair, missing the fingers. So he only has like 4 fingers left. And then we have the Cenobite guy that I guess we sort of saw like that same face
throughout the movie
in a leather jacket, looking cool.
Terrible. Looks like shit.
You didn't like it?
You're talking about the engineer, right?
No, we're talking about we're talking about Joe.
You said the Cenobite guy.
Well, that's Joe.
That's Joe, the one that you really zoned out.
Yeah, I thought he was the engineer. Who the fuck's the engineer?
No, the engineer is already out. It's Pinhead.
Pinhead's the engineer.
Wait, did you watch the same movie we watched?
Yeah.
Holy moly!
I thought it was all.
Let me tell you,
I thought Joe and the engineer was like all the same.
your expert level is starting to go down a little bit right now.
Look, man, what do you want from me?
He needs a better horror to get him back on track. But no, Joe rips the mask off. Well, the Cenobite.
The Cenobite that he keeps seeing throughout the movie, that he thinks that it's someone like the police station, at the bar. Remember, he keeps seeing someone, but it's not a Cenobite, but he
It's got like no eyes.
yeah,
and the...
correct. That's Joe.
Yeah.
That he peels the face off, and that's Joe underneath it.
Right. I thought it was like a cyclical thing. Like he is the engineer.
Like he's it to himself.
Yeah. No.
Well, I think I
Well, I guess in a way he
Anyway,
is.
That character looks like shit. I hated that makeup. Because even though it's a lower budget sequel, I thought the Cenobites looked pretty great.
Yeah, they look great.
Yep. This fucking thing looks like fucking a cast off Muppet that Jim Henson like jerked off onto and left in the back.
tell us how you really feel about it.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Also, I'm confused because I know, Jamie, you've only seen this one and two, but do you remember in the hospital sequence? It's in 1 and 2. In the hospital, there's that monster thing that chases Kirsty through through that tunnel.
Oh yeah.
From the hell dimension coming back into the hospital. That creature is also called the engineer.
Really?
It's not, I don't know if they say it in the film, but that's like in the lore of Hellraiser. That thing is called the engineer. So I thought this was also going to be a callback to that. It's not.
So they just use the name, but it's nothing to do with.
Yeah, I think it's completely.
This is why I feel like it's the Jason Goes to Hell of Hellraiser. Like it's like Jason Goes to Hell didn't make a lot of sense, and this movie as a Hellraiser doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And then Pinhead's right there.
Honestly, I think part 6 has even less like Pinhead in it.
I gotta be honest, I'm very disappointed in Pinhead. All this time, I put him on this pedestal of like one of the best villains in all these horror movies, and now that I'm watching the movies, I'm like, he's kind of lame.
1 and 3, he's like more of a force.
Okay,
we gotta do 3.
2, you get his backstory. Half of the movie, he's human.
Wait, the backstory isn't on 2. Don't they go to the backstory on 2?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's what. Yeah.
Oh,
he's a military guy.
Yeah. All right. I'm just saying, like, you compare him to Myers and Jason and Freddy. Pinhead stinks. He's not even in the top 5. I think Candyman is higher.
He was never supposed to be that kind of character.
His look though makes it look like he should be.
Yeah. Yeah, I get you.
And he only does his like magic power at the end of the movie. The hooks come out, they grab Joe, and then in like, I don't know, 30 seconds, he explains the whole movie because Joe's like, I don't understand. And then he basically explains, I guess, why Doug Bradley may or may not like the movie. Maybe that quote maybe he was just being kind, but he was like, it's humans and it was your own destruction. You brought this upon yourself.
Yeah, he's too scholarly. Like the way he talked. Is that a trope though with the chains attacking people in these movies?
Yes,
in all the movies. Yeah.
Okay.
And also, and the way he speaks, that's the character.
Well, he's intellectual as
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. He's it's there's 2 books. There's the first movie is based off of the first novel. He's not really he's not like none of the Cenobites are the characters really from the film. They're nameless. They're described the same way.
Right.
Like he has the nails in his head, but he's supposed to be like a prince of hell kind of thing.
Gotcha.
So he's supposed to be very intellectual and very well spoken, So that is the character.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
So then he goes, after he's explaining like everything that's going on, then he goes, "Welcome to hell." Hooks that are in his face rip, and then black. And then what happens? He's back in the hotel room.
I did like the way he said it, though. Welcome to hell.
Yeah,
Like,
no, I did too.
That line, the way he said it was great.
And this is where I wrote, "Fuck off." Like, are you really going to do like the Newhart scenario? But he goes, he wakes up, he gets out of the bathroom, he sees the girl, and then he goes into the office, and he's kind of more relaxed, I guess.
I would
right?
say he's nicer now. He's more relaxed. Like he sees life a little differently now. You know, he realizes what it could have been.
Then the phone call.
It's the old, it's the Ebenezer Scrooge.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah. But the phone call,
then,
you're right.
And then the phone call comes in, and it's the girl, and poof.
So so is it just basically reliving the same day over and over again?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe this is his chance to fix it.
Does Pinhead allow that?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
If you can beat him at his own game, or if you learn to be a better person.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't know that.
He has rules. He isn't like a chaotic creature like a Freddy Krueger.
Okay. Well, he's intellectual, so he's. I get it.
He has rules he lives by.
He just looks like he should be way more evil than he is.
Mm-hmm.
So then the end of the movie is just him sitting on his own childhood bed, and he just screams. That's it.
The end.
So that was Hellraiser Inferno. Let's go to our guest, our horror expert. And we talked about it the whole way about the ins and outs of the movie and what we thought. But would you recommend this movie for this Halloween season?
You know, when we sat down, I was gonna say yes. Now I'm not so sure.
Wow.
I don't think it's terrible. It's definitely not the worst of the series. I think it's fine. I think if you don't think too hard, if you don't think too hard about it, it's a fine supernatural mystery. You don't have to be well versed in the Hellraiser lore to follow it. I think there's a lot of good stuff within it, and I think a big part of that is having someone like Scott Derrickson as the director, even though it was the start of his career, but he went on to make some really good stuff. I don't know, 50-50. If you're looking for like a mid-range thing, you don't have to think about, throw it on. It's good. We're getting into spooky season. Throw it on. Why not?
All right, Jamie.
I'm gonna say if you've seen a few of the other ones, again, I've only seen two, so I've only seen one other before this. If you've seen a few of the other ones, I would probably say you could probably skip this one, because I without knowing much about the other movies, it doesn't seem to follow the same formula. But like myself, that I've never really only seen one of them. I like this. I do like the story. I do like, you take the Hellraiser part out of it. I definitely think the story is pretty cool. The ending is cool. There's something there. It is a little mishmash, but I think it's worth the watch. Because if you look at it as a regular movie, not a Hellraiser, I think you'd enjoy it more.
I agree. I guess I agree with both you guys. I think the movie itself, like I said so many times during it, like 75% of this movie, to me, like works. Like I was intrigued. This is like the first movie I think we've covered that at the end of it, it's not like it was a comedy this is like a thriller that like they hodgepodge and like shoehorned in, the Hellraiser elements. And I get that's how they got it made. It was probably going to be something else. And they're like, boom, scribble in Hellraiser and Pinhead. So I would always say, check it out. Why not? Just give James Remar some love. Why not? And Nikki Turturro.
He was great.
There are movies out there that I will absolutely say do not watch. But yeah,
I've said it many times. So,
you know, you can check this one out. It's not the worst. I did enjoy this watch a lot more than I did the first time I saw it was like 10, 12 years ago. And I think I was very much on the, you know, where's Pinhead?
Well,
train,
again,
but
that's first time watching it, so it's my first time watching it.
Yeah.
But for me to say go watch it, then you know, because I'm usually more negative with some of these horror movies. So yeah, but again, I don't 100% consider this a horror movie. I think it's more of a thriller, you know, with horror aspect to it.
And like I said before, that's actually one of the things why I was not shocked that Clive Barker didn't care for it, but it does feel like something he would write. It feels like something out of his lore. So it gets some points for that for sure. And look, I'll be honest, I did want to jump onto this episode just in case Brittany Amber came back as a guest because I know she loves Hellraiser.
That would have been amazing if I just had her appear. I did like a little Joe magic trick and boom.
You know what? Based on her love for this series, she probably would have if we asked her. So
I could see her not hating this one.
She mentioned something about it in the pod.
She loves all of them. She loves all of them.
No, but I think she mentioned
honestly,
Inferno.
I want to say after this point, they just get progressively worse.
Right.
But there was one from a couple years ago that's not bad. It's called Hellraiser Judgment.
Is that
some people
is
hate
Doug
it.
Bradley in that one, or is that the one when they recasted him?
No, this is the second one that he was not in.
Oh, okay.
And it's not terrible. And the guy that got to replace him as Pinhead does a pretty good job.
Wow.
You know, the best you can to take over a role, you know, that was played by one guy for so long. But
so I would like Pinhead to be up in one of those like spoof movies where someone just takes a hammer and just starts like nailing, you know, all the pins in his head.
Scary movie.
Oh,
6.
actually, and before we go, I do have a quick story about I met Doug Bradley a few years ago at Monster Mania, and he's a great guy. He's not only loves the fans, he loves that he's had the opportunity to play that role so many times, but the nicest guy. And I was in line waiting, a few people ahead of me, and there's a kid 2 people in front of me. He's maybe 10 years old. And he's waiting. He's got like a Hellraiser shirt on. He's got like a poster. He's ready, you know, and he's clearly nervous. So I'm thinking, oh, he's nervous because he's about to meet Pinhead, you know, in real life. No, he was nervous because he idolized Doug Bradley so much. He was like shaking, and Doug goes, "Hey man, you know, you don't have to be nervous." Total English gentleman, by the way. He's like, "You don't have to be nervous." He's like, "I'm just a regular fellow like anyone else. Just talk to this kid like he was his own son." It was adorable. And
I've been reaching out to him. I've been trying to get him.
He's the nicest guy, and he lives part-time in the UK and part-time in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I know. So I'm hoping one of these days I'm going to be able to get him. So
one of these days. Yeah. Thank you to our now 7-timer horror sequel expert. And the next sequel up for our 3rd annual Scary Sequel Month is Toxic Avenger 4
goodness.
Citizen Toxie. If you heard Jamie's voice, we recorded this one a few weekends back in my little studio shed. And this will go down as the most unique but problematic movie that we'll ever cover. And I was lucky enough to interview legendary Scream Queen and Trauma regular Debbie Rochon. Debbie's story is one of perseverance. She had a real rough childhood growing up in Canada, and then, man, she took the horror world by storm. She's been in so much over the years. It was pretty cool. And then she had one of her early roles. She was like an extra in this in a bar scene in Vampire's Kiss, starring Nicolas Cage. Talked about her trauma films, and you look at her IMDb. She does so much horror. She's like the star in so many horror movies, and so she was a blast. And I wrote down here, Jamie, that I think a drinking game for people while they're listening is they have to drink every time we say Sergeant Kabuki Man NYPD.
Have you ever seen that movie?
Have I?
Yeah.
Yes, I've seen all the. I'm a fan of the original. I've seen them all.
Okay.
I'd say 1 and 2 are probably the best. One is a B movie classic.
Yeah.
3 I remember thinking was fine, and then I do remember 4 being pretty bad, and it's long too, right? Like,
oh, I think it was pretty long.
I think it was like long for that kind of movie. It's long.
So
I think it's like a solid.
It's bizarre.
2 hours.
It's extremely bizarre.
all right,
Yeah.
so that was so get ready for that. And Debbie will be out on Monday because we're doing double episodes weeks, interviews on Mondays, reviews on Thursdays. So don't forget to review, rate, share our podcast, follow us on all social media at Sequels Only, and don't forget to check out our website, sequelsonly.com. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Nice.